Hello, this is not a normal video, this isn't gameplay or anything. This is my view on YouTube's content ID system. I know I'm probably a bit late to the party, I've been umming and ahhing about doing this for weeks. But I've been doing a little bit of research hither and thither, just try and pick out stuff. And I'm going to try and explain to you why I think that the current method for content ID, the current system, isn't just unethical and immoral, which I think it qualifies as both, but it might also be illegal. A little side thing, I don't have any background in law, I've never really studied law. This is the closest I've ever got to studying law, so I might be incorrect, and if there are any people who have a legal background and know about law who are watching this video, I'd be very happy for you to comment and correct me where I'm wrong. What is Content ID? What is YouTube's Content ID system? I'm sure quite a few people who are following this, who have stumbled upon this, won't be people who subscribe to me. I only have 7 at the time of recording, but will have searched for it, so they know roughly what it is. For the small minority of people who don't, YouTube, whenever a video is uploaded, check it against a database, and every so often they'll scan through old videos as well. And if a bit of it somehow matches, a bit of the video they're scanning matches their database, then they'll flag it. They'll send a content ID match to the channel. And that can do a variety of things. The people who have the rights, who have claimed the rights to that content, can do several things. They can block the video in certain countries. They can monetize the video so that they get ad revenue, or they can track the analytics. What will definitely happen is the person who created the content who uploaded it will not be able to monetize it themselves. They will not receive any of the ad revenue. And that can be a problem. And it says on the How Content ID Works page for YouTube, which the link will be in the description, it says, to be approved, content owners must own exclusive rights to a substantial body of original material that is frequently uploaded by the YouTube user community. So what Content ID is YouTube is saying, you don't have the rights to this. This company has the exclusive rights to this content, this particular content, which I find quite odd for Content ID. I've not been hit a lot by it. I'm only a small Let's Player, while there are people who've had reviews taken down or certainly hindered. But I have had a few. So I'm doing a Let's Play of Assassin's Creed, and one piece called City of Jerusalem, which was in all caps, has been claimed by AdRev Publishing, Coda_CS, Suisa CS, Tono_CS, Sachem, and Tiosto_CS. YouTube is trying to tell me that all 6 of those companies have exclusive rights to City of Jerusalem from Assassin's Creed. I'm also doing a Let's Play of Mass Effect, and a variety of that music is being claimed by 2 companies, AdRev for a third party, and Idle. And we have the same problem there. YouTube is claiming 2 different companies have exclusive rights to the same piece of music. I've heard a few people, I think, claim that this is illegal under the 5th Amendment of the United States Constitution. In particular, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. And this isn't a due process of law. It's not covered in United States law, nor is it covered by the YouTube Terms of Service, and I've not seen it in the YouTube Terms of Service, so I'm not sure how accurate they are, or how inaccurate they are. As an extension to that, we can also go to the Magna Carta, the UK Magna Carta 1297 from Edward I, Clause 29, which says a very similar thing. No free man shall be taken or imprisoned or be disexcised of his freehold or liberties or free customs or be outlawed, but by lawful judgment of his peers or by the law of the land. So either jury system or by act of law. So very similar. However, you have a kind of a similar problem between both of them that I think is the case, where both of them are legal agreements from the government to the people, and corporations don't really get involved in it. So is the Content ID system legal under these? Well, I don't think it's stopped by anything. The problem with it is the claim that these companies have the exclusive rights, as set out by the How Content ID Works page, which means we might be able to get them under the United Kingdom Fraud Act 2006. I'm saying get them, but why it might be illegal. So we're looking at Section 2, and again, the link will be in the description if you want to look over this. Section 2, Fraud by False Representation. Subsection 3, Representation means any representation as to fact or law, including a representation as to the state of mind of blah, blah, blah. We don't need to think about the state of mind of YouTube. But what that's saying is YouTube is making a statement about a fact or about law. So YouTube is saying these companies have exclusive rights to this content. So they're making a representation. Okay, so we've got them on that. That is true. Subsection 2. A representation is false if A, it is untrue or misleading, and B, the person making it knows that it is or might be untrue or misleading. Now, if you've had a single claim on a single claimant on a particular piece of music or piece of content, we can't do anything with that. It doesn't fit this. It might fit A, it is untrue or misleading, but B, less so. However, as I said, City of Jerusalem claimed by 6 companies, and the Citadel and other bits of music from Mass Effect claimed by 2 companies. So we know that at least all bar one of those companies doesn't have the exclusive rights to that content, which means that it is untrue or misleading. And considering they're under the same section, you would assume that the database has clumped them together, so they're claiming the same content. Which means YouTube knows there are multiple companies claiming the same content. Therefore, B, the person making it knows that it is or might be untrue or misleading is the case. So YouTube is indeed making a false representation. Now we get to subsection 1. A person is in breach of this section, the section fraud by false representation, if he A, dishonestly makes a false representation, which we've just covered is the case, and B, intends, by making the representation, I, or 1, because we're using Roman numerals, 1, to make a gain for himself or another, or 2, to cause loss to another or to expose another to a risk of loss. Now, it's very difficult to judge intent. It always is, when it comes to law. So we've got to think about, okay, what would be the outcome of this case, or of these claimants? Well, 1, to make gain for himself or another, yes, YouTube would gain from this if they monetize, and it gives that person, the claimant, who they are intending to take control of the video, the ability to block, monetize, or track the video. So track means they follow the analytics, block means it can't be viewed in certain countries or worldwide, and monetize means that it's put to ad revenue, that YouTube and the claimant would get a share of the ad revenue. So YouTube is intending for a company, for someone to gain, whether it's themselves or one of the claimants. But also, too, there is a loss involved. The person who uploads it does suffer a loss, and we see that under Section 5, which, Section 5, Subsection 4, a loss includes a loss by not getting what one might get, as well as a loss by parting with what one has. So, if you have uploaded content to YouTube, you have the right to monetize it, as long as your channel is in good standing, I believe. That means that if it's monetized, if you have the right to monetize it, and yet you are not allowed to receive the ad revenue because that's been blocked due to a false representation, a fraudulent claim by one of these people. YouTube is involved in that. YouTube is using that false representation and is causing you a loss. That's subsection B, subsection 1, section 2, fraud by false representation. And that means that YouTube is indeed committing fraud by false representation. That is the case. That's what's happening. Now, here's a kicker. Section 12 of the Fraud Act 2006. Liability of company officers for offences by the company. Subsection 1. Subsection 2 applies if an offence under this Act is committed, which arguably has been, by a body corporate. So a body corporate is a corporation. For example, say, Google. Subsection 2 says if the offence is proved to have been committed with the consent or connivance of A. A director, manager, secretary or other similar officer of the body corporate, or B. A person who was purporting to act in any such capacity, he, as well as the body corporate, is guilty of the offence and liable to be proceeded against and punished accordingly. And we know that YouTube is kind of boasting about Content ID. It is a good thing for the big corporations, so they shouldn't sue YouTube. YouTube is policing itself. YouTube is policing its own, which is a good thing. I am not disputing that. I'm not saying YouTube should just give up on everything. But there has to be a better way. And the directors, managers, secretaries, or other similar officers of the body corporates, or people who have been purporting to act in such a capacity, who have said that Content ID is a good thing, who have set it up, who have made it into what it is, they're liable for fraud. Or at least that's my reading of the Fraud Act 2006. Now, of course, as this is a United Kingdom law, we have to check to see if there is some kind of jurisdiction. As Google is a multinational company, we do have a few things going on, and I can't find it on this page, so I shall be back in a moment. Okay, so we're looking at jurisdiction. So I'm on the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service website, and it has a few things we need to look at. So, first of all, general principles. There are several ways by which a state can exercise jurisdiction. 1, territory. So that's where the crime was committed. So YouTube is based in America, so we cannot argue under that we should be using the United Kingdom Fraud Act. 2, active personality. The accused will be prosecuted in the country of the nationality of the offender. Well, Google, YouTube, although they're multinational, they're based in the United States. Can't use that. 3, passive personality, i.e. the accused will be prosecuted in the country of the nationality of the victim. And I'm sure there have been a lot of British people who have been affected by the Content ID system from Britain, who have been affected by what we've been talking about, the fraud by false representation. Or 4, universal jurisdiction, the state will be able to prosecute regardless of the nationality of the offender, the victim, and where the offence was committed. Fraud on this scale might be covered by this, but I'm not sure. We then also have a slight problem to using the UK law. Concurrent United Kingdom and United States jurisdiction. Prosecutors should note that some offences may come within United States extraterritorial jurisdiction. Well, it isn't actually extraterritorial. There's a lot of arguments can be made that it should be there. And then we get to some things where maybe the US will prosecute. There is a question. We should go to agreement for handling criminal cases with concurrent jurisdiction between the United Kingdom and the United States of America. This is also in the description. And there's a lot of problems where will the US prosecute? Would the United Kingdom prosecute? And I'm not sure. However, we have seen that YouTube can be argued to be in breach of the Fraud Act 2006. I've tried to have a look at the United States corresponding fraud laws, but I'm not sure. I can't read them that well. They're not as well formatted, in my opinion. as the United Kingdom laws. So I'm going to leave that to you guys, to people who know the law a lot better. Is the United States law similar to the United Kingdom law? Can it be argued that YouTube and Google and the directors, managers, secretaries, etc. are acting in a fraudulent way according to United States law? Because if they can, YouTube's in trouble. And we need to alert YouTube to this so they don't end up doing something silly. Something more silly. So I want them to stop using Content ID as is. Because it isn't working, it isn't fit for purpose. Just had a quick look at the YouTube What to Watch page for myself, just to check how unfit for purpose this is. And I can see Family Guy episodes on here. And I'm a fan of the WWE, and I've watched a few highlight videos on YouTube. I can see full pay-per-views. I can see a full WWE DVD. So the times when copyright is being broken and it doesn't pick it up. Times when copyright isn't broken, we've just looked at that. Fraud by false representation is coming in. This doesn't work. Ugh. There is a massive question over the ethics, morality, or even legality behind YouTube's current Content ID system, and I really hope that they stop using it. Thanks for watching, or listening.